Yo, this is Necro Butcher.
Napalm Death is gets called a political band.
Relation of what I see in others.
When you go camping, you're gonna see the Milky Way galaxy.
Punk rock type attitude. We're just gonna try to, gross you out with our music.
If you love it enough, whatever you're doing, whether it's your instrument, music, or everything like that, you'll find a way to make it work.
We could do this all night. Bass players, I use.
Yo, this is John from Noise Dosage Media, bringing you some of the most impressive and innovative extreme metal musicians on air to have an in-depth conversation about things you haven't known until now. We like to mention our sponsors and friends, Bishop Martin of Rat Punch and Begrudgingly Benny. Brandon specializes in stippling and digitally designing one-of-a-kind gruesome creatures that will look fantastic on any type of band artwork, tattoo, just about anything your twisted mind can think of. All of the art on this podcast is created by him, and we can guarantee 100% professionalism for a fair price. If you want to support the pod, please be sure to sign up for one of our $1, $3, or $5 Patreon tiers. We offer exclusive content, updates, merch, and unique offers that you can't get anywhere else. We're hoping in the future this fund can help aid in various subscriptions needed to keep this platform alive while delivering the best quality content we can. Our mission is to support more bands and deliver more content to our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Patreon.com/Noise Dosage Media.
Hello, this is Memoriam. How can I help you?
Yeah.
So how you doing, mate? You all right?
I am good. How about you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. So where are you calling me from? You eastern side?
I am near like Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls, up near Michigan that way.
Yeah, Michigan, Buffalo,
Yeah.
Rochester.
Detroit City.
Yep. All
Yeah.
around there.
That's where my mom was born, in Detroit City.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have a family connection.
That is awesome. Yeah, death metal lives here.
Yeah.
It hasn't made its way out. But so the first topic I want to bring up with you, this Napalm Death, Barney gave me a funny answer, and I feel like you'll like this question. So what are some like qualities you think are like a necessity for being like a frontman?
Oh yeah, massive ego, huge cock. No, I think the prime qualities of being a front man is really just how you've got to have a good sense of humour. I think that's
Right.
really is key to the central role, and really kind of like really have that kind of that opinion that you don't really give a fuck about what other people think about you. I think you've got to kind of be quite I think you've got to be quite confident in yourself as a person to kind of carry it off. And because you are the front of the band, you've got nothing to hide behind whatsoever. They've got no instruments to
You
cower
got no cabs to hide behind.
Absolutely, yeah. So you are the person that's kind of like engaging with the audience. You are the link between the kind of like the human kind of link between the band. So yeah, a really crucial role. So yeah, you've got to be confident. You've got to really believe in what you're doing, and you've got to be genuine as well. I think if you're not genuine and you're trying to pretend that you're something that you're not, then be disingenuous. Then people see through that straight away. So you've got to be yourself.
Right.
And if you're not cut, not everyone's cut out to be a front man. I wouldn't call myself a fantastic vocalist, but I think all the bands that I like, it's the kind of the way that the front man interacts with the audience that's really kind of draws me to them. Kind of like Iggy Pop. Is a prime example of that.
Right,
Kind of like kind of the way he engages is something special. It's a skill. It's a skill. When people say say to me, "Oh yeah, you're a musician. What instrument do you play?" I always say, well, I play the audience. That's
a good way to put it.
That's my instrument is the audience, and I think it's I think you just got to portray that kind of like that sense of joy that you're having. Because if you're not enjoying it and you're not having fun doing it, then you should be really doing something else. At the end of the day, it's all about no matter what level you are at within the industry or whatever you're doing to a certain extent, you've got to really enjoy doing it. Because if you're not enjoying it, there's plenty of other things out there that you could possibly do that you do enjoy. So, and I think the sheer joy of doing what we do as frontmen, comes through, and that kind of like permeates and kind of engages with the crowd as well, and they feed off that as well. So that was what helps. The fact of just being confident in your ability, and not really caring too much really about, I think if you got to have a certain ego to do it, obviously,
Right.
but I think if you've got a huge ego, that really works against you. You can't, you can't, you can't.
Yeah,
People,
yeah.
people can't relate to that, or they won't like that. I think we'll leave that to the guitarists.
Yeah, I'm a guitar player. I'm a friggin' guitar player.
Yeah, you can twang your plank all you like.
You ever look over when a guitar player is shredding and they got the faces going and everything?
Yeah, it always makes me laugh. I usually go and try and disrupt them. That's my job.
Exactly. Now, would you say that this would differentiate from any other genre? Do you feel like metal, requires different qualities from like, a country artist or like a rapper? Or do you think they all blend together into the same mold?
Yeah, I think performance is performance across the board, really. Of course, there's this, a major difference in the genres and the subgenres of metal. It's an extreme taste, but I think performing it's a thing that's got to come naturally. Regardless of what music you're playing. And what genre is involved in it, it's something that's got to be enjoyed, and it's got to be genuine,
Right.
regardless of what you're doing. So yeah, I think it goes across the board, and not just music, in all walks of life, whatever you're doing, you've got to kind of get some such sort of source of pleasure from doing it to make it worthwhile.
Right. Good answer. Perfect answer. All right. So with the new record,
Wait,
when writing,
what new record?
yeah, to the end.
I like that one. Yeah. Oh, the one that's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for you, man. I've only released one album in my whole life, and I will say it's a different experience.
It's great. Yeah,
You're like holding on to your pants. You're like,
yeah,
let's see where this goes.
It is. It's a fantastic experience. From day one. I remember it from back. When we did our first album. In Battle There Is No Law back in whenever that was, 86, 87. And the feeling's always the same. It's always your little baby that you've created in your own little headspace with your friends, and you've put it together. You've thought it through. You've created it. You've recorded it. You've committed it out there to the public, and you've been sitting on it for 3 or 4 months, knowing what it sounds like, and promoting it and pushing it and doing a billion and one interviews. You'd be glad to know that this is the first one I've had this week. Which is great. It's all started to
Hey,
quite. Now
there we go.
Absolutely. Now we're on the album release date.
Yep.
It's
There
all
you go.
started. It's all started to calm down now. So
That's awesome.
hallelujah, because
Yeah.
it's great. I do love talking about the stuff that I have done. It's brilliant. But after you about your 30th or 40th interview, it does become a little tedious, to say the
Yeah.
least.
You're like, I
yeah.
hope I get somebody that talks everything except the band at this point.
Yeah, because you do automatically. You can't help it. You kind of end up going onto autopilot and kind of just saying the same old shit that you've said over and over
Right.
again 30 or 40 times previously. So, but yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's got to be done. It's part of the process, and I'm kind of used to it by now, and I enjoy it. Yeah, I do enjoy it. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, releasing an album is a very, very special experience. It always is, and I'm very looking forward to that point tomorrow when it gets unleashed onto the public domain. It's all the music journalists and the people involved have heard it, and it's been getting some phenomenally good reviews across the board. better, more probably the best reviews we've ever had to date so far for any album we've released. And so I'm just really looking forward to and anticipating. The people that count, the real people that out there that
Yeah.
matter, the public, the people that put us in this position to be able to do this in the first place. They're the ones that are the important ones, and I'm really looking forward to the reception it's going to get from our friends, family, followers, whatever you want to call yourselves, fans. They're the most important. They're the key to this. Without their support, we would be doing this. So I think they're in for a surprise. I don't know if
Oh,
you've
yeah.
heard. I don't know if you've heard the full album yet.
I have not. Like, I've listened to your whole discography, but I've got to buy your vinyl.
Buy our vinyl. Keep me in
Buy
Jaffa
it now.
Caves. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's there's a lot of twists and turns on this new album. It's an album without kind of going into autopilot and trying to flog a dead horse.
I got a
a
question that's not really
okay.
autopilot, if you
Yeah.
want it.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that the album's, it's incredibly diverse, and the people that are into our music are going to love it because it's Memoriam, times 10 in many respects. So it kind of takes
There you
everything.
go.
It takes everything up a notch. So I think people are in for a treat. I think people are going to respond to it really, really well. I'll be very surprised if they don't. So roll on tomorrow. That's what I say.
Heck yeah, you'll have to turn off your phone. You're going to get bombarded with notifications.
My fingers are hurt. My fingers are numb from social media interaction, I tell you.
Exactly. So what were the top priorities when writing lyrics for this record?
Good question. I mean, it's been an interesting year all round, we've had a lot of time on our hands. That's I think that's one of the key things that's made this album what it is the fact that we've had lots of time to prepare for this album. Normally speaking, when we do an album, it's being written in the background while we're kind of carrying out our general annual activities of doing shows every other weekend and rehearsing for shows. So it's always been written in the background, but never really kind of like focused upon. But obviously, because of what's been going on in the world, we've had no gigs to do or to. So our focus has entirely been on putting this new album together. So as a result, the music that was created for the album was pretty much done. Back in June, July time. Which is normally it's roughly worked out, but comes to shape in its entirety probably about a month before we go into the studio. That's the normal way things work, obviously. But this time round, we were well in advance. So it's all done in June, July, which gave me, 2 or 3 months to write the lyrics, which is very different from normally. Normally I'm writing the lyrics.
Get her going.
Absolutely. Yeah. How does that go again? I'm usually in the studio writing the lyrics as I'm recording them. Sometimes, it's usually in the 11th hour because the lyrics always come after the music. I never write lyrics and then they write the music to it. It's always the lyrics fit to the music. That's the way I work. It's the way I've always worked for 30 years. It's the only way that works, really. So I'm generally doing it in the 11th hour. But this time round, I had plenty of time to kind of like focus on doing the lyrics. And it's an interesting process because I was very much aware of the issues that were surrounding us in the world. We live in very strange times. Not only are we living
right now we do.
Absolutely. So we've got this whole level of isolationism and kind of like being cut off from our family and friends and loved ones and our normal lives, which has kind of put a big strange slant on the way we view things. So that was obviously prevalent in my mindset when I was writing the lyrics, and also there's this huge array of political issues that were kicking off in the world around us as well. Specifically in the United States, we could to the issues of Black Lives Matter and the murder of George Floyd and all the things that kind of the whole rise of Trumpism and the nationalism and patriotism or whatever you want to call it. But the rampant rise of right-wing ideology across the planet is quite an alarming thing, which is, again, things that are really kind of quite in the forefront of my mind when I was writing the lyrics for this album. So very much so. So it got to the point where I'd written all the lyrics by August time. Yeah, we weren't going into the studio till October, which is incredibly early.
Mhm.
Um, and it gave me the opportunity to really have a think about what I wanted to achieve with this album. You know, I thought if
Right, you
I
could
was
sit
gonna,
on it. You could sit on
yeah,
it a lot
absolutely,
more than any
yeah,
other album. And
that's it.
and
That's
that's why, I asked this because I've had a lot of people get on and they're like, "Dude, our record is a lot better and it's because of this extra time," you know what I mean? Like these
absolutely.
guys just keep going on and on these tours and they're like they never get a break.
That's it. You just don't get the time to do it. And usually, you kind of because you're doing them in the 11th hour, and those sets of lyrics that I wrote during that period of time, if I was going to go in the studio next week, the week after to record them, that's what you'd have got, and they were fine. They were good. They were incredibly overtly political. Um, but I had that space to kind of like sit back and think, well, is that really entirely what I want to achieve with this album? And I thought, well, I've kind of done that in the past. I want to kind of like mix it up a bit more this time around. A little bit older, a little bit wiser, and so I managed to kind of pull back and inject some other issues and topics that I felt were important. More obviously, I injected the theme of that I'm known for. Yeah, for 30 years I've been writing lyrics which have the topic of war involved in them, and so I thought, well, I need to do that. I need people expect that to a certain extent, and really I needed to do that to maintain the continuity and the
Yep.
thread between all our
Yep.
previous albums and where we're at. So I wrote a couple of the songs, which had so they had contained more of an overtly war kind of theme to them, which works really well. Onwards into Battle was a prime example of that, and which you probably heard because that was a digital single, and
Yep. Yep.
but more importantly for me, it gave me the space to think about. I wanted to write some songs which were generally more about life in general, that kind of like experiencing of life, and as I get older, I feel more confident in my ability to do that. And I think that some of the stronger songs off the album have come off the back of that process as well.
Very
So,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, you're right. COVID has, it's of course it's had a devastating effect and killed millions across the planet. But on a positive spin, it's gave us the time to write a great album. So it's not all bad.
All right, here's a heavy question for you.
Whoa,
Whoa.
go on
All
then,
right.
far away.
What is some of the best advice you've been given in your whole life?
The best advice that I have been given in my whole life.
And how could this relate to the music industry and, forging ahead and doing what you've always wanted to do in music?
Yeah, I don't know. Advice. I wouldn't say I've had that much advice I've given of people that I've taken heed of. I've learned from my own experiences more. I think that's how you generally tend to get the best out of things. Like I learned from an early point in my life. My dad passed away when I was quite young. When I was 21. And yeah, that kind of gave me a kind of a sense of wanting to achieve things off my own back and do things my way. It
Right.
kind of taught me at a very early stage in life that life is short, and if you want to go out there and achieve something and do something, then you've got to go and do it for yourself because no one else is going to do it for you.
Yep.
And I think
That's that's definitely a great quote
yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
I think that's a constant ongoing theme that people you have to embrace that kind of like seize that moment and do whatever you can to better your life I think another kind of like way of that I approach my general life is the way of it doesn't cost anything to be nice to people or to be kind to people. I think that's really important
Right.
that
Right.
that you don't be an asshole. Just simple as that. There's no point in is that you don't get any benefit. There's no benefit to anybody if you're an asshole. Basically, I think if you got nothing positive or nice to say about something in particular, then just don't say anything. There's plenty of things out there in life that you can enthuse about or enjoy or be positive about, and those are the things that people should focus on. People so often focus on negativity or want to deride things or decry things or look negatively at things. Well, just move away from that and look at other things in life which you can see in a positive way. I think that's the best way to view life. And I learned that. That's one of the reasons I started Memoriam in many respects was because
Okay.
I kind of when my other band kind of came to an abrupt sudden stop due to the untimely death of Martin the drummer, Martin Kiddie Kearns.
Yep.
It
Yep.
just it does make you kind of like refocus and kind of think about your own life and where you are at within your own life and what you want to achieve and what the things that you enjoy doing and you want to continue doing. For me, that was being in a band and being on stage and performing and going across the world and meeting strange, wonderful and weird people. That's what I
Yeah.
really enjoy. And talking to people such as yourself. That's what I enjoy doing. And I thought, well, what do I do here? Do I sit around? Do I sit around and wait for
Or
something
just
to
work
happen?
some pointless job or something, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Do I go get a job, or do I wait for the band that might kind of continue or might not continue? And it was very clear to me that what I needed to do was kind of like get myself out of the kind of like the darkness, that kind of that kind of deep dark hole that I was in because of the loss and the grief, and create something new. And the only person that's going to do that for yourself is yourself. Is you. You can only do that yourself. There's no one that's going to kind of like give it to you on a plate. You have to drive forward and achieve the most you can in the relatively short time that we have on this planet. And as I've said previously, enjoy it, embrace it for what it is, and take every moment and do the best you can with what you've got, and be the best you can at it as well. And be nice to people. Be nice to
Yes.
people because
Yes. I
it's
always I always try to end my emails on have a good day.
absolutely, yeah.
Like
It doesn't
it's the
cost.
simple things, you know?
Yeah,
Like
it just to be nice, just to even when you're walking down the street and smile at people, that doesn't cost you a penny. You know what I mean? And it's what life's all about. Because it's a long way to the top. you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I
And
never know it.
what is the
What
top?
I'm
You know
not
what I
quite sure. I'm
mean?
not quite sure what the top is. I don't think I've ever been there, but it's a bloody well long way down as well. So
Yeah.
if you're shit to people while you're on that trajectory upwards, you can be sure that there'll be shit to you on the way back down. So
Yeah, it's gonna be a slippery slope on the way down.
absolutely, it's going to be a shitty slope on the way down. So yeah, I mean that's my philosophy on life really, and that's something I believe in quite strongly and adhere to at all times.
Yes, that is a great philosophy.
Mhm.
I've heard I've heard a lot of different stories on that question. I've been asking that throughout this pandemic,
Mm.
and like people look at like these metal dudes and they're like, these guys are so angry at the world, and I'm like, no, they're actually like the opposite. Like
Yeah,
they get to express their feelings and then,
yeah, we've worked
say what
through
they
we,
want.
we've worked through our anger issues. We're way beyond that.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think this album as well. Yeah, going back to the album, it has got more of a positive spin. I think because we've all been through this shared experience of COVID. I think it's put us in a position now where we are in a way kind of coming towards the end of it. It's going to rumble along for a long time, but we are moving forwards into the end game of it potentially. Hopefully, gigs are
yes,
going to start happening
I see.
again.
I'm starting to see festival dates and
Yeah,
stuff, and I'm like,
yeah.
I get that little sense of hope, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And hope is the word as well. So I think there's a lot of elements of that are contained within this album as well. So there's plenty of joy and hope and life and love. That's what it's all about in death metal. The
And death,
irony,
yeah.
the irony.
The irony for sure. Um, all right. So, what are some things that you learned along the way with the metal community?
Yeah, um, a lot, a lot. I mean, when I was young, it was very, very. I come from that anarcho grind punk kind of scene. Yeah, so metal for me has a very different taste. I've never been a huge, new wave of British heavy metal. Judas Priest, all that kind of Iron Maiden stuff. I've never really been into that. But I love Sabbath. I come from Birmingham. You
Heck
can't, you
yeah,
can't, you
Sabbath.
can't come from Birmingham and not love Sabbath. Simple as
I
that.
hear Iron Man in my right ear just from saying that.
Absolutely. So, but so my background's punk, and we kind of developed this kind of like new kind of scene. We just didn't know what we were doing back then, but it became the term became death metal eventually, and it kind of ground along quite nicely until the mid 90s, and then it all kind of like fell apart, didn't it? In the mid 90s,
Yeah,
and then
yep.
grunge kind of became very popular, and as a reaction to that, this whole kind of black metal kind of scene came along, and back then, I just didn't get it. I just didn't. I mean, I still don't get it, to be perfectly honest. But
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
like. I just didn't like it. I found it quite offensive, and the whole philosophy and ethos of that scene was absolutely counter to what I stood for and where I was coming from. It just took me for six. But as you get older, I think you realise that that's what music's all about. It's got to be like that because the scene that I grew up in and I developed through was my scene. It's what I belonged to. It's what I created my own sense of identity through. And that
Yep,
was me.
yep.
Yeah, and as you grow older, each generation comes along, and it has to challenge the status quo. It has to challenge what's been there before, and come up with something that's they belong to, something that's theirs, and something that they form their sense of identity through. And
Yep.
therefore, there's always going to be challenges, and that's what you find throughout the decades happens. The extreme metal scene is so vibrant today because there are so many genres and subgenres and different
Oh
things
yeah.
are happening, all the
It's like a
time.
genre getting made every 30 seconds.
Absolutely, power metal, kind of technical metal, whatever, all sorts
New
of different
wave of
types.
power metal.
Dungeon metal, dungeon synth. What the fuck's that? There's all sorts of different things, and that's great, and that's what keeps the whole thing vibrant and alive. I don't particularly like some of it, but that's not the point. I'm not supposed to. It's not my music. It's not for me. It's made for that kind of like that new generation that's come along and has to have something that they belong to, something that's theirs, that they own and have their sense of identity from. And that's really, in a way, enabled us in our old school death metal kind of like little clique to
Yep.
continue. You do see so many bands that were back in the the 80s, 90s that are still doing it. All the classic old bands are still doing it because we've got the opportunity to be able to do that because the extreme metal scene is alive and healthy because of all these different changes that have happened throughout the decades, and the fact that we're all old bastards and we refuse to give up. Because we
Yeah, we're
can't.
like the old people that won't
We can't.
give in.
We won't give up. We're just like the spirit of Dunkirk. We ain't going to give up. And what else would we do otherwise? We enjoy it too much to stop doing it. So
I don't know what genre I could pick. If I couldn't listen to metal, I'd pick like, I don't know, Frank Sinatra.
oh well, that's it. Yeah, the old swing kind of. You can't beat a bit of that. My musical tastes are incredibly varied. And as I think as you get older, it does. Grow to a massively wide scale of things. To be brutally honest, I don't, apart from Memoriam and the albums that I'm writing, I don't listen to much other metal. To be perfectly
Well,
honest,
I've heard a lot. I've heard that same thing from a lot of people. So
yeah.
I don't doubt it.
I'm inspired by a lot of different types of music from different genres. I really like things like the Flaming Lips. I think they're great. Wayne Coyne for me is a fantastic, frontman. Is very kind of it's just the way he engages with the audience is incredible. Spiritualized are one of my favourite bands. I'm a massive fan, and I'm going to put this out there to the metal world. Massive fan of a genre called Northern Soul, which is like kind of like rare kind of underground soul from the 1960s, 70s.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. I used to.
It's called.
I used to.
That's a genre.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to DJ quite a lot, in that
Mm,
kind of when we, back in the day, I did a little DJ slot doing a Northern Soul set. So there you go. There, so there's lots of different things that inspire me musically as well. I think you've got to have an open mind. It really helps when you kind of like you're thinking and creating music, you know. But yeah, there's a lot happening in metal, you know, and it's a healthy scene to be involved with, and there's some great new stuff coming along with the old stuff, which are still doing it and still coming up with some great albums, and it's great to be part of it.
Heck yeah. Now I hope I've asked you some rare questions.
You have.
You've got
I managed to get Northern Soul into this interview, which is the first time ever.
So, like, I'll conclude it with a, somewhat like a normal question to the album release, because we're
Right, yeah.
day
That's
before.
probably a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some things that you had to overcome with this record? Or you just feel it just was smooth the whole process?
Yeah, it was because I mean, as we mentioned earlier, the time and space that we had to do it in made the actual facilitated it to be a really smooth process. You know, I got the chance to demo the lyrics in advance of doing this album, which is something I've never done before. You know, I've never, 30 years I've been doing this, I've never had the opportunity to do that, and that's
You never done that?
no, never had the chance to demo it because it's always write them at the last minute. You know, kind of like, well, that's it, they're done, that's it. So, but this
That's
time
it.
round, yeah, because we had so much time, I went over to Scott's studio and I demoed them, so the actual band got to hear what the vocal structures were going to be before they actually put the music down as well. So which is the first, and for me, yeah, it gave me the opportunity to like try out different things and try different vocal techniques. You know, because I've said it before. You know, often you go into the studio with these grandiose ideas of what you want to achieve. You know, music,
It never happens.
vocally,
Yeah.
and you try it, and you just can't do it because I'm shit. I'm a shit vocalist.
Yeah, you had too much coffee or
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely. I just haven't got that vocal. I'm never going to be Rob Halford. I haven't got that vocal capacity to kind of like do a vibrato. Or sometimes it's in my head and it's going to work there, but when you actually try and deliver it, it just doesn't come out. But
Your
demo,
producer's like,
yeah,
"What are you doing,
what,
man?"
what are you doing? Russ Russell is classic at doing that as well. So just stop it. Stop that now. Give me a death metal roar. And but yeah, so it gave me the opportunity to try different things and see how different structures and timings worked, which is brilliant, And so yeah, so all in all, this album is an interesting one. I think people are going to enjoy it.
Fuck yeah. All right. Well, is there any last things you want to add in this?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say thank you very much for your time, and
Well, thank you, Carl.
I enjoyed doing this. As I say, it was an unusual interview for a change, and wasn't following the
Yeah.
same track as the ones I've always done previously. So thanks for that.
I feel like I got a golden medal for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's more like a chat, wasn't it? More like a little kind of like conversation than an interview. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that, and I hope everyone that's listening to this, subscribes to this channel and buys our new album, which is called To the End. We're Memoriam, by the way. And the album is called To the End, and it's released on Reaper Entertainment worldwide on Friday, the 26th of March, 2021.
Perfect. Hell yeah.
And there'll be another album next year as well.
Right. And buy it again the next
Buy
year.
it again.